Welcome to Healing Voices Project, where we share stories of addiction, grief, recovery, and courage. And also from people who work every day in the field of substance abuse who discuss their experiences and advice. I'm Mike Torville, your host. Thank you all for joining us. Hello, everyone. Thanks again for joining us at Healing Voices Project. We're glad to be back with you all, and thanks again for listening. This week we have Adam Bartlett. Adam is the Director of Operations at the Michael J. Diaz Foundation in Springfield. And at the Michael J. Diaz Foundation, they provide education, area resources, peer support, and hope for family members and friends coping with a loved one with a substance abuse disorder, and a lot more than that.
Yes.
So glad to have you, Adam. Thanks for joining us. And if you'd like, maybe if you first want to tell us a little bit about the Michael J. Diaz Foundation, and then we'll get into your story and what led you there.
Okay.
So let's first tell us a little bit about the MJD, or the Michael J. Diaz Foundation. So what's happening over there?
So the Michael J. Diaz Foundation, we're a nonprofit organization. Mm-hmm. We're actually celebrating 10 years. We just hit it in February 24th. So We've been around for 10 years now. We have 2 sober houses in Springfield and a transitional house, which is for the guys in the house that are ready to move on to that next level of living before they're on their way out to being on their own.
Okay.
So it's an amazing place.
How long have you been there now?
I've been there just coming up on 2 years.
Okay. I've heard a lot of great things about the foundation. They're doing great work. I mean, I didn't realize it was 10 years.
Yes.
Wow.
I mean, they've been around for 12, but 10 years as a nonprofit. And
how did the foundation start?
So Grace Diaz, her son Michael, and that's what the foundation's named after. She started this after her son unfortunately took his own life due to the disease of addiction. And then she realized, like maybe a year or so after, that she wanted to help. She really wanted to get involved. And a lot of other parents out there were going through this same type of thing with their children. Maybe not that they lost their children, but that they were in the grips of addiction. And they started this, we want to do something more. Yep. So they started opening sober houses, nice sober houses where they're more family oriented, to help men with addiction.
At the time, you said just men, or is it men and women?
It's just men.
Just men. Currently still?
Currently just men now,
okay.
Yes.
Okay. And, I'm glad you said about the family, and even we talk a lot about families here and the effects in the family, not just the addict or the person who is an alcoholic, but the families and how deeply they get affected. So you're doing great things there. But your path there is unexpected, meaning a few years ago, you never saw yourself as a director of operations here, did you?
No. No, I did not.
So, but your story begins at a much younger age, because I know you said you'd spent some time as a teenager, right? Drinking, and that led to all kinds of things going on, all kinds of, not just drinking, but events, and then drug use and things that just evolved. You're a police officer too.
I was, yes.
Yes, yeah. So you really have a lot, and given our short time on here, I know we could. The other day we talked on the phone. I said I could talk to you for hours. So, but let's dive into your story. What led you to where you are now, and what events transpired? So how did it all start for you, Adam?
Well, my addiction really started when I was 14 years old. And it was drinking. I was drinking with a couple guys, friends of mine, and I fell in love with it. I didn't realize it at the time, but as time went on, the progression went on. It went from like here and there on the weekend, maybe a weekday, to every single night I was drinking, and I couldn't function without alcohol. I mean, I didn't know it at the time. Usually when you're in the grips of addiction, you have no idea. But it just continued to get worse as time went on. Like I get done with work and I would go stop at the package store immediately, and I'd be picking up whatever I needed.
Just became automatic. You
Absolutely.
Didn't even give it a thought. Right?
It was like my car knew where to stop on the way home.
Right. So programmed, right?
Automatically pulled into the package store. Yes.
So you started that, and so you're drinking, and then that was when you were a teenager, or at least early, and into early 20s. And then you said you wanted to be a police officer.
Yes.
So you went to the police academy.
Yes.
How did that go?
Police Academy was great. I always wanted to give back, and I love helping people.
Yeah.
My brother was a police officer, and the thing for me, when I saw him pull up in his cruiser one day, I was a little kid.
Yeah.
And when I saw him get out, I was like, wow, that's like, it was just, I was so proud of him. And I was like, that's what I want to do with my life. He's helping people. And that's what kind of drove me to get into it, was when I saw him in the uniform in the cruiser, it just helped me. But getting into the academy, it was huge for me. And I was married at the time. I had a little girl, or we had a little girl together. And my drinking was just nonstop. So my day would consist of getting up early in the morning, and let me just back up a little bit. I was going through a divorce at the time of the academy because my ex-wife had it at the time. She knew, and I didn't know I had a problem, obviously. I would get up in the morning, 4 o'clock, get ready, bring my daughter usually over to drop her off at her mom's. I'd go to the academy all day. I would get out, package store, some sort of fast food restaurant, just so I could get some sort of food in my stomach.
Food wasn't as important as drinking.
Right, because the package
Right.
store was first, and
Right,
then
right.
stop to get food.
Right.
And I would eat some food just to make sure I had some sort of something in my stomach before I drank. And it was never like I'd hang out with guys, they'd pick up a 6-pack, and I'd be picking up a case plus a bottle on the side in case I ran out. And that was a typical night for me. But in the academy, I ended up getting injured during a workout, and I herniated 2 discs in my lower back. And I was out for a little bit. I was still in the academy, but I couldn't do the physical things for a few weeks. But I was able to get back into that as time went on. But I got through the academy, graduated, started working, was working my dream job, and I thought things were great.
Mm-hmm. But that injury didn't go away.
No. So what happened to me, and was really the first time after the academy, I was in a pursuit. I jumped out of the car to chase after the guy. I tripped on a pothole, and my back went out.
Oh.
I was laid up for weeks, and I ended up going to the doctor, and that's when I was introduced to opiates. He started me off on Percocet, and he literally gave me a prescription for 15. I stopped on the way home, picked it up, got to my house, and let me tell you, when I put that in my body, the alcohol was great. But this
Whole different
was like
level, right?
euphoria.
Yeah.
Literally, and I hate to I'm not trying to glorify it because I don't try to, but that's how I felt. And it was a whole different world for me.
Partly was the pain went away.
Right.
Yeah, and so you felt great from that aspect.
Exactly.
And then, okay, so you started thinking, hey, this stuff is great. It's quicker, it's easier than drinking,
And you don't smell it when you're at work.
Oh yeah, undetectable.
Kind of hard to pull somebody over, and for drinking and driving suspicion, get them out of the car, and you're drunker than they are, more intoxicated. So this you don't even notice.
So you got your prescription at 15. You ran out of that prescription and stopped. Is that how that went, or no?
No, so what happened in the beginning was I did take it as it was prescribed.
Yeah.
And then the more and more I got it, I was going up each time I went in. My doctor was like, yeah, well, let's give you a little more. And I ended up to the point where I was getting 180 Percocet a month, 160 Vicodin, and 380 Tramadol. Now, back then, Tramadol wasn't a narcotic. But Tramadol, definitely, now it's a narcotic, and it should be. It did something to me, too. It kind of got me out of myself. But I also could take a lot more. I mean, obviously I wasn't supposed to, but I could take a lot more of those and mix them in with the Vicodin and, the Percocets as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's what really kind of got to me.
I'm going through that right now. I just had knee replacement surgery, and I got the Oxy and the Tramadol, and you get to rely on that fairly quickly.
Absolutely.
To sleep, to get through the day, and right, it hurts. Where's that bottle?
Right.
And then, of course, now it's a little different because the prescriptions, the insurance companies put a limit, and they say, no, sorry, we're not approving another refill.
Right.
Anyway, but that's so I to some small degree I understand how that starts. So as you started using that more and more, it affected your job.
Yes.
And you're still drinking.
Yes.
Tough combination there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
To me, See, I can look back at it now and say, yeah, that was a really bad mixture. But at the time, for me, it felt great. You know, it kind of got me out of myself.
Like, what's the problem here, right?
Exactly, exactly. But I did things like I wasn't thinking normally anymore. I ended up not talking to my daughter's mother anymore, and not talking to my daughter and seeing her anymore because, so my daughter's mother was going through the police academy at the time, and
Oh.
she was starting to clue in that something was wrong. And instead of letting her catch me, we just pushed him away. And I walked away from my daughter. My family started asking questions, of course. A big thing for when you suffer from addiction is isolation, because you don't want anybody knowing what's going on. So you just push them away when they start asking questions.
Because it becomes more important.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All I care about is where am I going to get my next drug from or my drink. You know, and it's obviously it progressed.
It progressed to the point where, you're right, the isolation, pushing off your family. It progressed to the point where you became very desperate, right?
Yes.
And you got remarried.
Yes.
Right.
I did get remarried. Yep.
And your wife at the time also was partaking, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So I know as you went through, what was it, years of this, right?
Yes.
There was one event that I did look it up. And yes, you're right. There was one event where you were arrested. Now, you were still a police officer?
No, I was almost a year. that
Okay.
I was forced out.
You were forced out due to the problems that you described.
Yes.
Yeah. What did you do for work after that?
I was on unemployment, and basically I collected an unemployment check. My wife at the time was making furniture. She also worked in the legal field, but she gave that up. So she was making furniture, and we were making kind of money off that, not a lot of money. And we ended up getting a medical malpractice lawsuit settlement, which gave us a lot of money. And we had all the right intentions. We're going to pay off our condo. We're going to pay off the cars. We're going to pay off this.
All the normal stuff.
Exactly. Let's do the right things. We paid all the people
Yeah.
back we owed money to, like her mother and father and things like that. But so I'll be honest, because I'm an open book with this. We had $180,000.
Yeah.
Is what we ended up with total.
Yeah.
We spent $60,000 a month on drugs and alcohol, every single month.
A
3 months,
month.
right?
How
through it.
quickly does that run out?
3 months.
Yep, that's the easy math. But
Mhm.
I thought you'd say, well, we spent some of it on productive things.
No,
It just went all out the window.
all
there.
out the window.
But what happened when you ran out?
So we were living in a hotel in Chicopee.
Mm-hmm.
We had no money, no drugs, no alcohol, and we started calling detoxes. I had private insurance at the time, and they said you have to wait till Monday. It was a Friday, and that was going to be a long weekend. Using all that time, 8 to 10 years of constant use every day, it's going to be a bad weekend.
A weekend, and you're thinking, I can't get through the next hour. Never
Right.
mind the weekend.
It was a miserable Friday into Saturday was miserable. We ended up robbing a pharmacy because I needed that next fix so bad that was my.
Was it
ruin.
an impulsive robbery or a well planned out?
Definitely not well planned out. Definitely impulse. I mean, we literally just said we're going to go rob a pharmacy
Yeah, out of desperation.
out of desperation. Yes.
So you ran in. So you would describe what happened there.
Well, I literally walked in.
You walked in.
I was very calm.
You ran out, but you walked in.
I didn't even run out. So I walked up to the and I like I said, the girl came up and it wasn't the pharmacist.
Yeah.
And I said I need to speak to the pharmacist. So she got the pharmacist over, and I literally, like I'm talking to you, I said, I'm going to need all the 30 milligram Percocets you have. She knew she was being robbed at that point. I was very calm. She walked back, handed them to me, and said, do you want me to put that in a plastic bag for you? I said, nope, I'm good. And I'm out the door. When I got in the parking lot, that's when I started running.
But did you start to think that was too easy? I mean,
I was so much adrenaline and so scared.
it's like, what could go wrong here? Why is that so easy?
Right.
All right, but we'll get to that. All right.
Right.
All right.
We ended up getting in the car and we drove away.
Yeah.
And as we're driving away, I remember popping open the top of the bottle and seeing the EAS alarms that set off the door when you walk out. And I'm thinking, the alarm never went off when we went out the door. Wow, how about that, right? These things don't work. Maybe about a mile down the road, the Chicopee police had the whole intersection shut down, and they were looking for us.
It was a tracking device.
It was a tracking device, yes. And I will say this, they were all placebos. Thank God they were all just basically sugar and water pills. So we never were able to get high again.
Did you think, well, that's why it was so easy?
Of course, after when I got sober, yes.
Yeah.
But at the time, no. And we took the Chicopee Police and State Police on a 66-mile pursuit down a Mass Pike.
High speed pursuit, 66 miles. That's an hour
Yeah, we went to Framingham
from Chicopee.
from Chicopee.
Wow. How did you escape causing accidents on the way? I mean, how did?
I believe in God, and I believe He was there with us the whole time, because we could have hurt a lot of people that day, and I'm so
Yeah.
grateful we didn't.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, we were able to get around cars, and I saw the spike strips coming. You know,
You could have, things could have gone horribly wrong.
right.
Yeah. So you get to Framingham and you got caught because
We ran out of gas.
you ran out of gas.
Yes.
Back to the planning
Right.
or lack of.
Clearly.
So you ran out of gas, had to pull over, get out of the car. The police surrounded you.
Yes.
You still didn't know that those pills were placebos.
Yep.
So they took you in. You went to jail.
Yes.
To make a long story short, I mean,
Right.
to advance this. So you went to jail for a little while and got out, and then what happened after that?
So I knew I needed help. Mm-hmm. I mean, from the moment, so the first time I spoke to my daughter again was through a recorded line at the jail, because she reached out to my caseworker when she saw this on the news. And her and her mother said, give them our number and have them call us. I couldn't believe it. I was floored. My mother and father reached out. My family started reaching out. So I put their numbers on this little sheet you get, and it's a little pink sheet, and then they approve it, and I was able to make phone calls. First time I heard her speak in 8 years, she sang to
my.
me on the phone, and I just broke down crying, and that's when it hit me, and I said, I got to change my life. I got to do something different. I attended as many meetings as I could that were in the jail, any recovery-based things I could do. There was actually a lot they offer up there, which was amazing. And then I went to the Phoenix House when I got out,
Yeah.
and that's where I found my fellowship, which really got me into my journey in recovery and started making me find out what's the real problem with me and what I need to work on. And that's where it really took off.
Did you go back to jail?
I did.
Yeah. And that was because what?
So I took my case to trial.
Okay.
Now, let me tell you, I was guilty all day.
Yeah.
I knew I was guilty.
Kind
They knew I was
of hard to
guilty.
deny all
Right.
that. Right. Okay.
But I was charged
Yeah.
with an armed robbery,
Yeah.
and I did not commit an armed robbery, and that's what I was fighting. And we tried to get it squashed in the beginning, and I was pleading guilty to an unarmed robbery, and I get it. The district attorney, went after me for an armed robbery, and I understand why they did it. I lost the trial. The jury found, it was an armed robbery. The judge, sentenced me based on an unarmed robbery because he felt that it was an unarmed robbery. And I went back to jail.
For a year and a half.
A little over a year, yes.
Okay. And again, while in jail, you went to programs, you went to
Yes.
meetings, and you just
There was
tried
3
to,
meetings a week.
Yeah.
I never missed a meeting.
Mm-hmm.
I talked to my sponsor.
You didn't have much
on
else
the
to do,
phone.
did you?
Well, I got a job right away. I
Yeah.
wanted to work
Yeah.
because I didn't want to be stuck in the unit because I didn't want to be caught up in things that can happen. I knew what can happen in jail, and I've seen it, and I didn't want to get involved in anything.
Having been there before.
Right.
Right.
So what I did is I said I'm going to stay involved. So I would go to work all day long, come back, eat, make phone calls, take a shower, go to my meeting at night, and then any recovery-based class they had, I would just take. And then I ended up going to Mill Street, the Western Mass Regional Wellness and Recovery Center, which is a drug and alcohol program for men and women in jail.
Mm-hmm.
And I was able to go there and actually go back out to meetings in the public and work on my recovery even more. And that was amazing. It was a godsend for me.
So after you got out, what events led you to the Michael J. Diaz Foundation?
Well, my apartment that I had before that, after I graduated the Phoenix House, I lived in an apartment for about 7 months.
Yeah.
And then I went back to jail. I obviously lost that apartment when I was in jail. So I got paroled. And somebody told me about this foundation and the amazing work they were doing. So when I read the paperwork, I said, wow, this is everything I'm already doing. I want to do this. So I signed up. I got accepted. Literally from the first day I walked up the stairs, I got to the bottom stair of that house, and I felt this overwhelming feeling of love. And I don't know what else it was, but it was amazing. I went in the house. The guys were amazing. The staff was amazing. The board members came in, and they're family members.
Mm-hmm.
They sat down and they asked you about your story and who you were and what you went through. And I'm like, this is amazing. I'm tearing up as I'm talking
Yeah.
about this because it's something beautiful, to say the least.
And from that minute you walked in and felt that again, and so your involvement deepened a little bit, and
Yes.
now not suddenly, but over the course of 2 years, you became the director of operations.
Yes.
And now look at, back to the story when you saw your older brother in the police car pulling up, and you said, I want to do that. I want to help people. That's what I want to do for my career. Thinking it was a police career, but you look at that. You're doing that. Not what you expected back then,
Right.
but now you're helping people in a way that you didn't expect.
Right.
Certainly, you couldn't have ever saw this path coming.
No, not at all. If you
No.
had told me this 7 years ago, I would have said you're crazy.
Exactly. Right. So what's your typical day like?
Well, I get up in the morning. So I have a son now. He's 15 months old.
Wow.
And he definitely keeps us entertained and busy. I get up in the morning. I do a lot of prayer, meditation. Hang out with my son for a while, and then I'm off to work.
Mm-hmm.
My typical day is, there's no typical days.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll go in my office and, okay, I got to get all this stuff done. Next thing you know, my door blows open and I got 6 guys in the house that are just like me, men in recovery. And either they just want to talk about what's going on in their life or about something serious that happened or questions about recovery.
Yeah.
And, it never ceased to amaze me, some of these guys and watching them grow. But, not only just doing that, but reaching out, working with and making connections with like the jail, with like other big organizations for like bringing new guys into the house that work with us and like what we have to offer.
Yeah.
We make a lot of, we're very big in the community. We've been kind of shut down with COVID. We used to take the guys to the schools, the high schools and stuff, and let them speak and tell their stories. And we can't do that right now, obviously, because of COVID.
Right.
But, a typical day is dealing with the guys, checking the house, make sure everybody, is okay, things are clean, safe, because it's really important to us to make sure they have a safe, clean living environment.
And you try to have some consistency, but you've learned to expect the unexpected
Yes.
in your day, right?
Yes.
But
As Karen and I were just talking
Yeah.
about before I came in.
Yeah, and so but every day, and what you've learned, and I'm sure every day you still learn something.
Yes.
Right? But I think the people there, certainly you can relate to them, or vice versa,
Absolutely.
and which is extremely helpful. But look at you now, doing what you thought you would do at a young boy. I want to help people every day. There you are.
Yes. There was different plans for me. There were.
There wasn't. You didn't know it, and you were engaged, right?
Yes, I am engaged. Yep.
Yeah, you're engaged. Do you have a date yet when you're getting
No,
married?
we're just
Yeah.
kind of waiting. We're
Okay.
not rushing it, but
Yeah.
I mean, we have the baby already, but
Right, hey, 15 months old. But think about it. A 15-month-old son, you're engaged, a job that you're obviously love your job.
Yes.
You're doing what you always wanted to do. Look at how your life is now. And think about it was just 2018, 2017, 2019, not that long ago. And look talk about a change. And you can never see yourself. But the point of saying that is there are many people who are in the positions you were in before who say there's no hope. I can't get out of this. I don't see a way out. But there is a way out.
There is.
You're living proof of that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's great, and I'm sure that's a wonderful example that a lot of people hopefully hear your story, and I know you've shared it many times before, but this has some impact on people's lives, So
I'm glad I could be here. Like these are the things we do to give back, to make sure to help one other person, even if it's talk to 1,000 people, one person hears something. That's what it's about.
that's it, And I think we were talking to a previous guest who said, hearing one story snapped her out of it. And you don't know
Absolutely.
what that one story is, and there's going to be people that you never know, who are listening, that maybe make a different decision.
Absolutely right.
So, well, thanks. I appreciate you taking the time to come and visit with us, and I'm sure we'll be talking again.
Yes.
And may have you back again, because there's always things we can talk about, not just yourself, other people, Michael J. Diaz Foundation. There's lots more that you guys are doing that we'd love to dive into a little bit more.
Absolutely. That would be great.
Thanks again. And Karen, too. A shout out to Karen over there. Thanks for coordinating all this. And thanks to everybody else for listening. We're really glad you're taking time to hear these stories and to hear people share their experiences. We'll see you again next week. We'll be back. Thanks again. See you soon.